Hi, it's Wayne from howtofish.com.au and a bit breezy this morning, but I'm fishing West Melbourne, the Maribyrnong River. I haven't fished here before, but it looks pretty good to me. Overcast, there's certainly a breeze which could build through the day. The tide is rising. Let's hope there's some fish. I had a look around at the water and chose a marker on the other side. It was that floating device there. So that was my marker to cast to. I was casting into the center on the day. I was using light line, my fishing survival pack, which is so effective in getting fish in water like this. Didn't take long before I hooked into the first fish, and I think it's really because I was using fish attractants on my bait. I was using my spicy chicken formula. I was using a small hook, so it's something that the fish could get their mouth around, and I was using that lightweight trace. That's what really convinces the fish to take the bait. In other words, they don't see anything unnatural about the bait you're presenting. The first fish wasn't big. In fact, throughout the session, there was going to be a lot of small fish. That's what you always catch first. This was a little pinky, as it turns out, which is in these estuaries. And they put up a little bit of a fight for a fish their size, and with light line and light tackle and a light rod, they always seem quite a bit bigger. Beautiful little fish, good to see that they're doing well in our waterways. I was using 2 rods on the day, and unfortunately I hooked into fish on both of them. The rod on the left was a much sturdier rod, heavier line, bigger hook, and so there was something much bigger that was actually pulling at that bait. But since I already had a fish on, I had to handle the rod on the right, which was a much softer rod, so it wasn't going to have the size of fish I think that I've been getting bites on the left-hand rod. Anyway, it took me a little while to get it in. It was a small bream, of course, really freaking common in these waters. So I was pleased to have gotten that. I was hoping that if I got it in fast enough, I could get to the other rod, but I was too late for that one. I was casting the same spot and getting the berley in, so it wasn't taking too long to pick up on fish. Yet another bite. Really easy to see on quiver tip rods too. With that sensitive tip, you see all the movement and action. I was pulling these in from about the center of the river, but if you can cast to that same spot, you'll get the berley in the same spot, and that's what will attract the fish. So I had a run of these, and it was good fun on really light gear. It's sort of the sports fishing activity on the local rivers where you're getting small fish, but the gear's light enough to really enjoy playing them and having a bit of fun. This was another small bream, and I think I must have attracted a school into the area because I was getting bites pretty quickly. It wasn't always striking into them, but I was certainly getting bites, so it was good to catch a couple of fish that way. And look, I really don't mind catching small fish when there's only small fish about. I had a heavier rod set up for the bigger fish, but if I wasn't going to catch anything, I'd be disappointed. So having a light line means you can catch reasonable fish like this. I had a string of bites going, so that was really good fun. It wasn't taking long for the fish to find the bait. Of course, that's what happens when you use berley. You attract the fish in, and yes, you do get the small fish, but every now and again you'll get something bigger. This wasn't that big because I could feel it on the light rod. Even though the tip is bent, it's not a big fish. But this just added to the mixed bag of fish that I got. This happened to be a small Tevally. So on the day there was building up a bit of a species variety, which was good to see, and it's good to see that there are different types of fish in these local estuaries. After a while, after catching a few fish, I started to miss a lot of bites. And I do find that once you actually get the small fish into the area, quite often they get so small that they're picking at even a small bait that I was using and a small hook. This one I was unfortunate enough to get hooked by me, and I wouldn't have got anything like this if I didn't have the light gear on. But it was another small bream, and at least it just shows you there's plenty of fish about, and these ones, if you put them back properly, will grow to be bigger another day. another cast and another fish. I had them waiting in the area. You could tell as soon as it hit bottom, it was taking within about a minute for a fish to strike. I was just hoping the bigger ones would come around. I was getting plenty of fish on this rod, getting the burley out regularly and having the right presentation. The other rod with the bigger bait just was not getting anything. After that first bite that I got nothing after that. So it just shows sometimes light lining is the only way to get fish in these estuaries. One of the things I think that had been really attracting the fish today was these bait dips. I've been trialing them for a time and they have become an essential part of my fishing armory. I usually choose one of the dips to use on the day, but sometimes I take all three because it might be that it's the aniseed or the fish magnet or the feeding frenzy that gets the fish on the day. Today it had been the feeding frenzy that had really won, and I found that even where a fish had mauled a bait, and that usually makes it unpalatable for the fish, I just put it in the dip, recast, and I was getting fish on that. So it was working well.
Well, as I was fishing today, Todd,
Victorian Fisheries Authority, that's what we are.
Yeah. Victorian Fisheries Authority, yep. Thank you. Came along and just asked if I had a fishing license, which I certainly do. And so, Todd, can you tell us why it's so important to have a fishing license and why you need to check them?
Yep, so all our license money in Victoria goes towards the fishery. So we stock, I think at the moment, 7 million native fish a year. It's going to move up to 10 million native fish. Goes towards upgrading facilities, and you might see some of those fishing line bins around. We put a lot of money into fisheries grants and things like that as well, so it all goes into a trust. And yes, angling clubs, people who apply for these grants are able to basically access these and then put it towards the fishery, and then the fishery sees it. And we're very lucky in Victoria because other states don't have the license money. So South Australia, a few other states don't have fishing licenses, so we're very lucky and privileged to be able to put that money back into the fishery, so it's better fishing for all in Victoria.
Okay, well, thanks very much.
Fish were coming like clockwork, which was great, and I was getting plenty into the area. Not big fish, of course, but I was having quite a bit of fun. And it's always good to hook fish, but of course hooking fish doesn't mean you actually get them onto the bank, which is what happened with this one. Just lifted straight out. There you go. Another little fish. I was hoping to get something bigger, but of course if there's only small fish about, that's all you're going to get. But I think it was a combination of the dips and the spicy chicken formula that was really making a difference. And the great thing with chicken as a bait is that if you have different types of dips and additives, you can make as many different types of baits as you like. And one thing's for sure, the fish certainly do like it. As luck would have it, I finally hooked into something of some reasonable size, and it was getting quite hard to get in. Pulling very, very well, and I'd actually been playing this for a little while. I got it in fairly close, which is the most dangerous time, and then it broke my lightweight trace. That happens with larger fish, unfortunately. So I think that's the last for the day. I lost that last fish. It's getting a bit windy now. We've moved past the best of the tide, so I think I'll call it a day. It's been a great session. If you've enjoyed the video, please give us a thumbs up and subscribe. And if you're interested in any of the techniques, the gear that I'm using, go to my website, howtofish.com.au. See you next time.